This is the Lip and Putts podcast here in the Better Rate Mortgage studio, presented by Woodward Sports. On to episode 8, fun episode, I think, coming to everybody this week. We're going to recap the Open at St. Andrews. What an insane event. We kind of look like geniuses a little bit.
Not to toot our own horn.
I'm not one to brag about myself, but when, I think you talked about in the first episode, when you're right about something, you got to take that advantage.
Yeah,
so, Sam, welcome to episode 8. You're geniuses.
Yeah, I'm going to just love, a relish in this glory. I was one off with Will Zalatoris, the U.S. Open, came in second. Not like it was a hot take or anything, but Cam Smith picking the win. You picked Rory. Not that Rory got third, but in all honesty, he was trying to make that on the last hole. He really would have tied. But we just come off. Yeah, we do look like geniuses. We need to brag about it. Yeah. We make so many takes throughout the course of this year. Some of them are going to be right. So when they're right, we want to make sure people know.
Right, absolutely.
And so we're not a bunch of guys who don't know what we're talking about, basically. But nonetheless, phenomenal tournament. Yeah, a ton of fun. Great way to wrap up major season. Kind of bummed major season's officially over.
Yeah.
But Cam Smith wins the Open Championship, his first career major, parlayed with the Players Championship this year. What a season he's had. And then just initial reaction, gutted for Rory and everything like that, which we'll get into all of it, and then we'll preview a brief thing on 3M Open and talk a little LIV. But I guess initial reactions for you, we watched a lot of golf this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I watched. This is probably the most golf I've ever watched in the course of the week, because I watched the Open in the morning. I got up early at about, I think on Thursday and Friday, I got up about 5 o'clock. I would say on Saturday, I did not get to watch the initial round because I had an event here for work that I was doing. But actually, I went back and watched, I'd say, the first 9 holes before I fell asleep at night. But I also watched a good amount of the Barracuda Championship too, which I don't think a lot of people brag about that, but I am deep in the golf game right now.
Yeah, I know. And I love coffee golf, being able to wake up early and watch it. Whether if you're a psycho and get up at 3 a.m., I think I was going up at 7 a.m. or sometimes 6 a.m. on the weekdays for work. But it was on the whole time, and it was entertaining to watch. And especially when you have the best players in the world all playing at one, a great golf course that was firm and fast and fun to watch.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about the golf course because obviously that always creates a lot of controversy. But it was just a fun, really good event. I think the RNA did a great job putting on a great event.
Yep.
They were able to eliminate a lot of the distractions that we obviously knew about heading in the moment it ended. They talked about it, but Cam Smith, what a fucking dog.
I think this is, we've both picked him at separate occasions because of how he's played this year. And honestly, coming into this event, he was a little bit on the cooled off side. It wasn't the same Cam Smith that we saw in the Players, or I think he finished top 10 at the Scottish Open. So
yeah,
seemed to be coming back a little bit. But the performance that this guy put on this weekend was, to me, one of the best major performances of all time.
Yeah, it's definitely something, and like you and I, it's funny, we both didn't watch a ton on Saturday. That was the one day we didn't get to see a ton based on other things, but that's the day he didn't play great, so we didn't get to see him struggle. So I'm literally looking at what I watched from Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, and man, it was phenomenal golf. It was what we kind of expected going in, but you're right. He missed the cut of the U.S. Open.
Yep.
Not that it was a great golf course. For some reason, I decided, I thought he was going to have a good week there. I actually think I took him for the U.S. Open. So let me backtrack on the Will Zalatoris thing. But I just think he's a guy who, when he's in the chase mode, he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
And he is maybe I don't want to go about and say this, but I actually do believe it. When you're out there trying to chase someone down, he might be the best player in the world to do it because of how good he putts the ball and how dangerous it is every time he's hitting a putt. I feel like a lot of times we see guys chase, whether it be a Justin Thomas or a Rory, they just miss those 12, 15 footers when you need to have it. And man, it was fun to watch what he was doing on Sunday, and being able to do that on the back nine was incredible.
Yes.
30, coming in 30.
To me, it's almost and obviously, so it came down. Rory went into the final round with Victor Hovland, had a 4-shot lead. And to me, it seemed like they had their 2 days flip-flopped. Rory had a really good day on Saturday, and Cam Smith, just couldn't make a putt. He was still rolling the putter fine, I thought.
Yeah, made a few bad swings. But
yeah, and then left a few putts on the edge or just burned a few edges, and that's what happened to Rory on Sunday. So Cam Smith, that Friday round was, I think, statistically the best putting round anyone's ever had in major championship golf since they started really keeping track of all the analytics and stuff behind it since 2004. I think he gained like 6.5 strokes on the field on Friday, which is, it's hard to even like wrap your head around what he did on that Friday.
Yeah, no, I mean, then that's where like, I mean, he shoots 64 on Friday. And then he, like, obviously I think it's really hard to backdoor or back up a really good round.
Right.
With another, and especially when he was sleeping on, I think it was a 1 or 2 shot lead over Cam Young. But a day where basically the hole is massive and every putt's going in, it's really hard to repeat that. But what you can do is continue to put yourself in positions and just make sure you're hanging around come Sunday. Right. And he was hanging around. He stepped on the freaking gas at the right moment. I'm going to be honest, when he didn't birdie 9, I really was like, oh, that's dangerous. But then Rory didn't. And so I was like, okay, so he's still in it. And then out of nowhere, it was like birdie 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, the birdies on 11 and 13, those are not holes you try to birdie on. Right. I mean, when you turn around and come in, you're obviously banking on 1 on 18, but you're birdieing 10, 12, and 14. Like, that's what you're thinking you can go get. Yeah. And so to get 11 and 13, when a lot of guys were bogeying those holes.
Right, yeah, I think Jordan had a chance to get in it. He 3-putted it. I think Cam Young 3-putted it as well, too. And, you know, I didn't realize he was, like, until he made the 5th birdie, like, at the time I was watching, like, I don't know if I was just dumb. I mean, I am a dumb person, but I didn't even realize he birdied 5 in a row until, like, they finally flashed it on the screen, like, oh, he just did that. And you're like, okay, that just came out of nowhere. And it kind of shocked me, so I couldn't even imagine how, like, Rory felt when he had a 3-shot lead going into that back 9.
Oh, yeah, I mean, when that's where, so I think, like, to talk about the final round, I think there was a few different, like, major turning points or points where you can look back and be like, man, if it goes that different way, I think the whole complexion of it changes. And, like, we'll talk about Rory 70 with 18 greens and everything, but, you know, I think Cam Smith hit number 5 and 2, and he had a long first putt and left it way fully short. He probably, I think, made like a 15 to 20 footer for birdie. But I remember seeing that he had birdied 2, but he hadn't picked up anything on Rory, right. I think, at that point. Or Rory maybe was 3 back of Rory. Because Rory birdied 5
as well, too.
And Cam went in and rolled this 15-footer, and it was like, okay, you got that because Rory was about to make birdie. So, yes, you're now down 2, but, like, you knew you were still going to be down 3. And that was huge because then it's like, okay, you can stay patient. Yeah. Still somewhat patient. You don't have to press yet. When he didn't birdie 9, like I said, that was like a concern. But then when Rory didn't, it was like, okay. Like, right at the same time when Cam had birdied 10, Rory didn't birdie 9. It was like, okay, like,
felt a little momentum.
But then it was obviously the birdie on 11 was like, okay, now we're in it. Right. Like, because at that time, Rory didn't birdie 10, and it was like, okay, like, we're chasing. Yeah. And it's on. And like, I mean, just freaking incredible. And I mean, like, that's where you just shout out. I mean, shooting 30 on the back 9 of a major, like, in general is great. To get to 20 under to win the Open Championship at St. Andrews, beating basically who everyone there wanted to win, or 95% of the people wanted Rory to win, because you talked about this romantic aspect of the Open at St. Andrews. Like, it's just it's incredible to watch.
Well, it was funny watching people called this Rory's major. Essentially, this was Rory's Open to essentially win. And I know a lot of people out there are going to say Rory choked. I don't think he choked. I think that's a bad take on Cam Smith. Went out there and got it. Like, that's what it comes down to. Rory didn't really do anything to, like, he didn't make a double bogey or a triple bogey on, like, 17 or anything like that to kind of cough it up. Like, I think Cam Smith, a lot of people were thinking on 13 on Saturday, because I did go back and watch that. Like, double. When he made that double and he was almost like took a baseball swing out of that, he was standing in the fairway bunker. You're almost looking there like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
take your fucking medicine.
A lot of people thought he threw the tournament away from that moment on. Rory never did anything like that on Sunday. He literally we've all been there. Cam Smith was there the day before. The putts just did not fall, and that's just the nature of it.
Yeah, and then, like, where I kind of go in on it is with the whole, did Rory choke, did Rory not? Like, for sure, I think Cam went and got it. Like, do not get me wrong, Cam went and got it. I don't think Rory choked it by any means. But he didn't deserve to win.
No, and he admittedly said that too.
And so, like, yeah, you hit 18 greens in the final round of a major when you have a 4-shot lead. Well, tied for the lead, but Victor Hovland was obsolete. Like, you're going to think, all right, I hit 18 greens, I shot 200 par, like, I'm probably going to win the golf tournament. But it almost looked like as if, yes, he was hitting these 18 greens, and everyone's like, you can talk about, oh, he didn't putt well. Like, he lost, I think, 0.8 shots putting for the round. I'm looking at it right now. Approach-wise, in that round, in the final round. He gained 1 shot on the field. For a guy who's a tremendous ball striker like him, like I didn't think he was putting himself in great spots. He was playing almost conservatively, like let's not make high numbers, which is a good round of golf, especially when you're 4 up and you're playing with the guy who you think you're playing against. Like it's almost match play. But the moment he had to turn it on, when you go from playing so conservative to then have to flip the switch, like it's too late. And he went from basically being the leader to being the chaser, and you can't just flip the script like that. Yeah,
especially right in the back nine, where again he was going into that back nine with 3. Like I believe it was a 3-shot lead, and in the matter of an hour, he was tied and then back down to Cam Smith. I mean, in his defense, like, and he said it, he goes, I honestly just was not putting the ball close enough to the hole. And yes and no, because they like the PGA Tour actually put out a video of all the putts that, burned edges. And he had several putts. Like when you want to win a golf tournament, you have to make a 12-footer or a big 13 or a 14-footer. Yeah. Like I thought if he could have made the putt on 17 for birdie, he was going to get into a playoff with Cam Smith, and then he was going to win the playoff because it would have got the momentum shifted back in his way.
Yeah. And he hit a good putt.
He hit a great putt. Again, it just did not break like he thought it was. But the par that Cam Smith made on 17, that'll be I think a par that you and I go back and we'll remember till the day we die.
Yeah. I mean, like everyone loved at the US Open talk about like the Matt Fitzpatrick bunker shot, like kind of the iconic moment of the major. Like that was the iconic moment of the winner is like, I mean, like, what the fuck was he doing? I mean, obviously, like, you sometimes hit a bad shot, but he, like, chunked it short of the bunker. Like, and no one was getting up and down out of the bunker, so you're like, okay, no one's for sure getting up and down short of it. But, like, again, you get a guy who's a hot putter. He gets it to the right spot. He played conservatively somewhat. I mean, it was the right shot to hit, and then he makes the 10-footer and gives himself a chance.
Yeah.
I was wrong on the stats, by the way. Rory lost 1.3 shots putting on Sunday, but he also lost 0.2 shots on approach.
Okay.
So he actually lost shots on the field in approach. So just again, like he hit 18 greens, but you can like those stats sometimes can be misled because I can go hit 18 greens, but if I'm 60 feet away, I actually have a less chance sometimes to make a 4 or a par on a hole or something than maybe being 10, 15 feet away just off the green. So And it got, obviously, St. Andrews, you can get the humps and bumps in bad areas, but I do think there is an aspect of him playing a little bit conservatively because in his mind, he probably was like, hey, I'm playing a match play against this guy I'm with, and this guy I'm with doesn't really have it. So if I can just outlast him, great. But he shot 70, he needed to shoot 68, and at a course where the guys were taking it pretty low, especially on Sunday, like 68 was out there. And so, like, am I going to sit here and say Rory choked? No, because he didn't choke. But I definitely think this is one he'll look back on and say, fuck, I let that one get away.
Yeah.
And then this one might hurt the most. Maybe the Masters when he snipe hooked it and shot like $1 million on the back nine. But this one seems like at the home of golf, you don't get many chances like it.
Right.
It was his.
I think he'll get another chance, but again, you're never going to get the...
He's going to be 40 almost.
Yeah, you're never going to get the 150 at that St. Andrews, right? It's a little bit different. But I give all the credit to Cam Smith because that guy was he was an assassin out there, essentially. It was... I can't remember a putting performance like that in some time of where it just looked like anytime he got the putter in his hand, it was going in the hole. And to me, I know a lot of people, like... They love Ricky Fowler's putting stroke, right? That's what a lot of people about his
pick
game.
And pop.
Yeah, and those guys both kind of stand a little bit upright. I think Cam Smith's stroke is very similar to that of Ricky's, but Cam rolls it that much better. And I will say credit to Rory though, because Rory, a lot of his struggles over the last 8 years of not winning a major was because of his putter. He got better at his putting this year, clearly. He finished in the top 5 of all the majors, but it's still not good enough to win on the tour, or win a major event. Like it's good enough to win a tour, but like win a major, like.
Well, and I think what you're talking about with it, like the putting, it's good and it's not bad, but like Cam Smith, 11.5 strokes game putting, like you're talking about volatility and being able to make a ton of putts and having some of these really good weeks with that's going to get you wins.
Right.
But you also have a much higher or lower floor, meaning you're not going to play as well. Where a guy like Rory, a phenomenal year in the majors, he beat 97.5% of all players combined, which is like, geez, man, like that's good, but you didn't win a major. And it's because like he's so good ball striking that the floor is so much higher for him than it is for a lot of other players, like we've talked about, whether it's Morikawa or Zalatoris. Like, but you need to be able to make the putts when it matters. And yeah, I mean, like he missed a short one on 3. Obviously he was able to birdie 5, but then he missed the one on 9. Didn't birdie 12. Like, was he in the best spots? No, not all the time. But like the one birdie putt on 3, like, man, that one you almost needed to have.
Yeah, I mean, and it seemed like it was automatic. It was like, okay, if this guy gets off to a 4, like clears himself 5-6 shots, then it's just all right. How far is he gonna run away with? And I think if he would have made that putt, I think if that putt would have happened, then it would have propulsed him like to do that. But again, then it kind of, especially on the back nine, it seemed like he was just scrambling to try to get a putt to fall. And, and at the end of the day, he wasn't hitting bad putts. They didn't fall. Yeah,
and it was just like, look, if you're 35 feet away, you can hit 18 great putts. They're not like you will have 18 putts that do not go in. The make percentage from 35 feet or whatever is not great, and that's where, again, it just comes down to how do you go about performing it. And so, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It'll be really interesting. Everyone's already like saying, "Oh, he's the favorite for the Masters." Like, it's a long time from now, and we've seen a lot of players lose it in a scope or whatever like that. But I mean, man, it looked like going into back nine, this was Rory's tournament, and we're gonna watch a nice celebration with everyone there to watch, and it didn't happen that way.
Yeah, well, and then I think kind of going back to, I know a lot of the talks out there in the golf world has been Rory, but like Cam Smith has been. I mean, I know he missed the cut in the U.S. Open.
Yep,
but this guy has played very, very good golf this year. Like, again, he's the only player to win the Players and the Open in the same year at St. Andrews.
Outside, the only other one is Jack Nicklaus. Yeah,
right.
So, like, it's pretty remarkable.
It's good company. And this has been a guy, he's kind of not been a controversial guy on tour, but, you know, a lot of people don't like his mullet. People don't like the dirty mustache that I personally love it.
Yeah.
I think Cam Smith is an awesome dude, especially when in his interview he said, like, let's see how many beers can we fit? Like, what a guy's got.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, the crazy thing is he's always had like this chip on his shoulder. He's never gotten the true respect maybe he's deserved. And partly like coming out of Australia as like a junior, like there's other players who are more touted than he was. I'm completely blanking on 2 of their names right now. One was Curtis Luck, U.S. Sam champ. He's been on the Korn Ferry, but like dude just works his fucking ass off.
Yeah.
He's a grinder. He's a dog. Like he is a dog. He goes out and gets it. Playing with the lead, it's a little nerve wracking. He shot 73 on Saturday. Like there's an aspect of it. But yeah, like if anyone's like, he's probably a number 1 player I would want chasing someone and going to try and beat him.
Yeah, in this day and age, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, if you were to build your perfect player right now, like if you're taking a putting aspect out of anybody, obviously it's him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would even go back to like
you get 11.5 shots.
Yeah,
putting.
I think this was a big reason why you picked him. Is it's been in our head. His putting display that he put on at the Players too was just as impressive. I think people, it's the recency bias, right? But I think that played a big part into why you picked him going into this week.
Yeah, I mean, my big thing to pick him was I knew, like, the U.S. Open driving's a premium, being able to hit it straight, and he doesn't. It is, like, hold on for dear life sometimes. St. Andrews, like, there is a nuance to being in the right spot, and there's a strategy around where do I want to leave myself because of all these humps and bumps. But it's not as penal when you don't hit it in the perfect spot. As it is at a U.S. Open or some of those other golf courses, which is a big reason why. And then, I mean, every champion who's won at an Open at St. Andrews, because of how large those greens are, like lag putting, all that stuff is so important. They've been in the top 3 in putting for the week. Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, I just think it's crazy to see him get this. We're not even talking about Cam Young, too, which, like...
I feel bad for Cam Young.
Yeah, like, he's the forgotten guy who got second place, like, shot 65 and, like, 3-putted number 1, bogeyed number 9. Like, not just par, bogeyed it, like, fuck.
I'm glad he
made that bomb for Eagle on 18.
I did feel bad because every outlet that I've listened to, since Sunday, we're recording here on a Tuesday, but since Sunday, it's been Cam Smith, Rory, and then obviously the guy we're going to talk about here in a minute is Tiger Woods, but... Cam Young, like he was no slouch. Watching that guy drive the golf ball, I think I could watch literally all day long.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's, he's a rookie on tour this year. there obviously is a bright future ahead of him. I mean, being able to compete at a high level in both PGA and the Open, like that's just a lot of not bad scar tissue, good scar tissue you're building up and learning experience. Like Viktor Hovland, who's been on the tour for a long time, first top 10 in a major, and we saw him kind of crumble. Like Cam Young twice now has been in the final couple groups in his first season on tour and has battled. He missed the playoff the PGA by one shot.
Yep.
And then obviously this one he loses by one. Like, dude's going to be there. And yes, he hits the shit out of the ball. His dad attributed him to being like a multi-sport athlete growing up. He was a former hockey player, which those guys always hit the fucking crap.
I hate those guys.
But like this guy is going to be so good.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
I guess the only part for me, in which I think a lot of like consumers or viewers, is his interviews and stuff very boring, very monotone. Like it was hard for me to even listen to him. I did think the most ironic thing out of the whole coverage for him this week was the big ass MLB logo that's on the sleeve. I just think for whatever reason I thought it was hilarious. Every time I saw it on TV, it made me chuckle on the inside, because it just, how often do you see another like sports entity advertising in a separate sport?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean it's weird, and like the only other time I remember is Ben Curtis when he won the Open, or I think it was after he had won the Open. But yeah, like I don't know why they do that. Like, why is Major League Baseball sponsored? Like, I don't get it.
You would think Major League sponsor would go after like a big guy, like a Rory or a Ricky Fowler.
I mean, obviously they probably think they can get it cheaper, but
yeah.
So Cam Young's season in the majors, miscut at the U.S. Open, miscut at the Masters, T3 at the PGA, missing out on the playoff by one, and then losing in the Open.
So all that says to me is like he's a dangerous person to bet on, because you don't know if he's either going to do really good or he's going to miss a cut.
Yeah, and I will say he's played in 3 U.S. Opens, 2019, 2021, and now 2022. He missed all those cuts, but he'll make one. He's going to be a good pick. I mean, but the Masters first time playing there, like that's a learning curve, I'm sure. He did miss the cut of the Players. I don't remember what draw he had for that, and he wasn't huge at that point. He had been competitive, but doesn't have PGA Tour win yet. Fun fact, another player on PGA Tour doesn't have a PGA Tour win. Who do you think was his college teammate?
Why? I feel like I should know this, because they talked about it. Where do you play college golf at again?
Oh, that gives it away, but Wake Forest.
Oh, well, Zalatoris.
Yeah, I didn't know that. If my brother texted me that, I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
I honestly didn't know that either.
2 guys who can't get it done. No, I'm like talking shit.
Yeah.
You guys are like top 5 in majors. But yeah, I mean, like, I think the future's bright. He's from New York. PGA next year is at Oak Hill. I mean, again, he's a guy I would look at as like going to be someone fighting next year for like, being a top-notch player for some of these majors in a high like pick. People will love,
especially if he gets like a win from now until the Masters.
Which like Xander Schauffele, I think's first career win was the Tour Championship when he was a rookie. Yep. Like that could be one. I mean, he's FedEx Cup. He's got to be pretty high, so that could be one that he could figure that out.
Right.
But yeah, no. I mean, either way, like New York, Oak Hill, he's got to be someone you're looking to. Just like when the guys got the hometown major, like that's a big deal to them.
Yeah, hometown Phil.
Yeah, exactly. But just going down the leaderboard, I mean, Tommy Fleetwood, T4. Like,
kind of a fun thing to see. Like, Tommy Fleetwood has struggled, like, I would say the last 3 years now. So it was fun to see him back in contention.
Yeah, Viktor Hovland, like, tough. First off, we briefly, you picked him to miss the cut.
I did, yeah.
But we both were like, what the fuck's going on with him this year? And out of nowhere, he just balls out.
But same thing with Cam Young. Cam Young he's either, like, again, he missed a cut or...
but like group. Cam Young's been competitive in other PGA Tour events.
Yeah,
like Victor's hasn't been competitive.
Well, and he didn't have a good track record in the majors too. So for me, again, I said on last week's episode, no brainer. I'm rocking with. And even you had the reaction like that's a great.
Yeah,
pick.
I was like, love that. Because what's his number one thing he's really bad at? Chipping, like creativity. Like you kind of got to do it. Now, granted, he could just putt from everywhere, which. Right. But yeah, like. I was fully on board with that pick.
I was shocked when he ended up. So, like, going into Sunday's final round, it was Rory up top and Viktor at 2. I thought I could not stop laughing to myself on Saturday night that I picked that guy, Rory to win, and then Viktor to miss the cut. And they're playing together on Sunday.
It's fun.
What a moment for the Lip and Putts podcast.
But just continue. I mean, Harman, cockbite, T6. Dude, he's kind of a dog in these majors.
He's been dogging everything this year.
DJ, the high live finisher, you only live once finisher. And then DeChambeau T8, which was one back at DJ. we'll talk about LIV guys in a sec, but exciting. Like I enjoyed seeing them. I'm sure people were like, well, I want to see those guys suck. Like I wanted to see them actually be competitive.
That's what I think. A few people have kind of gotten it misunderstood on this podcast. Like I think they think we hate LIV Golf and LIV Golf players. Which,
no, we just have takes on everything.
Yeah, that's just not the case. Like we put our thoughts out there of what we think of the first two events.
Yeah.
But I don't hate like those guys by any means. No, besides, I mean, I hate Patrick Reed and Bryson DeChambeau, but that was before LIV Golf even started.
It has nothing to do with them joining LIV.
Yeah.
And then Cantlay, T8, Spieth, T8. So you obviously got DeChambeau, Cantlay, Spieth rounding out the top 10. Like
it was a great leaderboard all weekend long.
Which you talked about last week. You're like we talked about the headline. Like it was a phenomenal weekend. I mean, like Scotty Scheffler folded on Sunday.
Yep.
Matt Fitzpatrick folded on Sunday. Like there was other guys who were up there. I mean, Xander kind of had a bad Saturday and everything, but like Adam Scott kind of crumbled toward the end of his round.
Yep.
It was a good field with a lot of just a lot of star power.
You know who we have to give a special shout out to because he kind of screwed us in the ass a little bit.
Who?
We looked like geniuses halfway through Friday. I'm picking Padraig Harrington to be in contention. He got it to, I believe, 4 under or 5 under at one point. Midday Friday. I was like,
oh yeah, no,
Padraig,
he was
gonna make the cut, gonna be in the top 10 going into Saturday, and then the wheels fell off.
Oh my man, he missed the cut.
I think he 4-putted twice.
Yeah, he was literally in I think he was on the first page of the leaderboard for like a hole.
Yes,
like he had gotten that high up on that. And I was like, because it was funny because I said Ernie Els at first and like completely forgot about Padraig. And then Els was popping off and then crumbled on the last day and missed the cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, like freaking Christ. Padraig I was like, this is the old guy. Here we go.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm still not over the Padraig situation because so I watched a lot of Live from the Open with, Paul McGinley, Brandel Chambly.
Those guys, yeah.
And a lot of their picks fell in line with us. So Brandel picked Rory. Paul McGinley picked Cam Smith, and this was on Friday. Remind you, we recorded on Tuesday. So those guys picked, and then they said they kind of almost like they listened to the podcast. They were like, who's the old guy that, always seems to be in contention? And they picked Padraig Harrington. I was like, what is going on right now? I was like, just, you know what? They need to take the Lip and Putts podcast and put us on the Golf Channel.
Live on, yeah.
Yeah, put us on live on from a major. Alternative listening.
Exactly. Few other guys I wanted to talk about too. Let's see. John Rahm, just like non-factor.
But we said that going in. I think we asked about it. You brought him up to me, and I said he's just not putting 4 rounds together.
No, and so just, it's hard because he was so good last year. And again, he only won once. But you talk about his floor was so low because he was playing really well. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's a putting thing or what's going on. I mean, like I could say this, and then 2 weeks from now or whatever his next start is, he could go win. Like,
right.
And he has a win this year, but. For a guy who's like top 5 in the world, just not what we're expecting to see.
Yeah, I think Cam Smith actually overtook him for number 2 now. So Cam Smith
is that?
I believe Cam Smith just jumped to number 2 in the world. Scotty Scheffler's still number 1 because the guy's just an absolute animal.
Rahm's 5 now.
Yeah,
Rory's 3, Patrick Cantlay's 4. But then Justin Thomas 53rd, or 52nd, 53rd.
Dude, my man JT was struggling.
Yeah,
did you see the top tee shot on 18?
No, I heard. So what did he do?
I think he had a hybrid or something. This was on
Friday.
Friday, yeah, Friday's round
or Thursday when did it hit the bridge?
It almost hit the bridge.
Okay.
It went like right over the burn. It almost went into the burn, like 20 feet in front of him. But it ended up like scooting up to I think like 150 yards out or 120 yards out. And the best comment came, I believe it was either on Friday or Saturday. My days are blending together. He hits his tee shot with Shane Lowry again, and Shane Lowry says, "Oh, most improved." And then you hear Justin say, "Shut the fuck up," and they just start laughing their asses off. I was like, "This is what we need out here."
Yeah, that's good stuff.
But yeah, JT I think still has a lot of learning to go on link style type golf courses.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with you, and hopefully Bones can help. But like, not that like this is not. I mean, Phil's an Open champion, but like I don't think Phil was like no one thought he was ever going to win the Open. Like they thought he was going to miss out on the Grand Slam because of the not winning the Open, not the U.S. Open. So I don't know. Only other guy I want to talk about, Sahith. He was like kind of creeping up toward the leaderboard early Friday. dude's another guy who's got a bright future. He's playing this week at the 3M. Like, he's going to pick up a win here soon.
And got in last minute, too.
Yeah, he was the last. Was he the second to last ad, or he was an alternate? I know that.
He was an alternate because
there's two guys who withdrew, Justin Rose and then Eric Van Rooyen. He got in before those two.
Yeah, he got in before those two. I'm trying to remember who pulled. It's not coming.
It was, I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It was someone at the back. It was Daniel Berger. That's who it was.
That was it. Yeah. So he was there to actually get some practice in.
So Daniel Berger withdrew, I think, on the Monday or Tuesday before the event started. So it allowed for Sahith to come over and get into the event. The crazy story is, and we'll talk about the Barracuda briefly here in a minute, but Justin Rose pulled out, I think, hours before the event started.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have put Alex Noren into the event.
But he was in Tahoe.
But he was over in Tahoe, and he got a call at like 2 a.m. And I was like, hey, Justin Rose just pulled out. So obviously, like, I think it would have been almost next to impossible for him to get there in time. So he just stayed in Tahoe and played at the Barracuda and ended up getting a solo second.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, smart decision.
Correct.
Yeah, because then I forget who ended up replaced. I think it was a Korean player.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
But either way, Will Zalatoris T28, first time on Links Golf. He actually looked like he was going to miss the cut until he popped off like 5 straight birdies on Friday. It'll be interesting to see. Again, this is the one where I just think like he'll figure those things out. But
real question before we move on and talk about Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger and Phil, of course.
Yeah,
we got to talk about the MCs.
How do you feel about JT's pants on Thursday? The joggers.
Oh, I liked him.
I did too.
Yeah, Grayson. I got my Grayson gear on right now.
Grayson gear, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go. The best brand out there. Detroit owned too.
Yeah, exactly.
Detroit made. But yeah, a lot of people are like, what's he wearing? Because Phil was wearing a T-shirt underneath this quarter zip on Thursday, and people are like, what the? They're like, well, if Justin Thomas can wear joggers, Phil can wear a T-shirt. Which I don't really care. I'm not a gatekeeper of clothes.
I'm not going to sit here and like give us some, but like, why are joggers worse than a T-shirt?
I don't think either
one. I almost think joggers looks better than a T-shirt.
I mean, to be honest, I would love to play golf in joggers and a T-shirt.
Yeah, but like my point is like, if we're gonna like, say like, oh well, why are we criticizing JT for wearing joggers? Like, I think the T-shirt's worse, but I don't know.
Well, that's what people were saying. They're like, a lot of people thought the T-shirt looked worse than because they're used to polos and stuff like that. But I mean, again, I'm not a gatekeeper. I like to wear wild shit on the golf course, much like you do too, Sam. So
you'll be wearing some wild shit soon too.
Yeah, and I got
and caddying for me. Maybe I'll just make you wear the wild shit while you caddy for me.
Oh, this weekend? Can I wear joggers and a T-shirt?
The club won't allow it, but you know them. All right, so you want to talk Tiger or Phil first?
Let's talk Tiger.
Okay.
I watched every single shot that Tiger had on Thursday. I got up early on Thursday. Well, I mean, you don't have to get up that early on Thursday, but I got up early on Thursday, got up really early on Friday to make sure I saw every shot. And I mean, to be honest, I know it's easy to say hindsight. It felt like his chances were about gone after the first hole on Thursday. He had his initial tee shot off number 1, rolled into a divot, and then what I thought he hit a pretty good shot came up 20 yards short and ended up in the burn. Hit a decent pitch shot out.
Missed the putt.
And then like the 4-footer or 3-footer, could you even call it a 3-footer? When he was lined up for the putt, I knew he was going to miss it.
Yeah, so I didn't even see the putt. I saw the chip, and I was like, okay, bogey, like, it's fine. You hit in the burn. Like, I didn't, like, pin up there. Obviously don't want to hit the water. But I was like, it's an easy 5. Like, whatever.
Because you almost chipped it in, honestly.
So I remember, like, then seeing him on the tee on 2 and being like, wait, he's 2 over? What?
Yeah. He lined up for this 3-footer. You could tell his feet and his face were, like, aimed. Like, I don't know if he was playing at left edge or trying to play at left edge or left center, but it was aimed, like, a cup and a half to the left. I was like, there's no way that goes in. And sure enough, it didn't even sniff the hole. So once I saw that happen, I was like, hitting it into the burn was one thing, but being that far off on a 3-footer on the first hole, I was like, that's not a good sign, especially like what we've talked about with putting. So, and it just got worse from there.
6 over through 7 to start. And he said, he was just like, look, it was one of those rounds where you just get going the wrong way and like, it just happens. Obviously sucks when it's the first one of a major that you were really excited to play in. But yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a significant one. I'm not sitting here saying he needs to play more because I don't, because I want him to be at all these majors. And
correct.
If that means he doesn't play in any of the other events, so be it. But I think he's going to be kind of like the new old guy who he's going to play in a lot of these majors. He's going to miss a lot of the cuts, but like he'll pop up for 1 or 2. And it's a competitive guy who knows how to be in that position. similar to how like Phil won the PGA last year. Like, I think that's what we're going to see from Tiger moving forward.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're going to see a lot of competitiveness, but those few times he will pop into contention at whether it's Masters, it could be an Open, and it'll be extremely exciting.
Yeah, I think the only way for him to remain like competitive in every single major he plays in, he'll have to.
He needs to play more.
I think he would have to play 8 to 12 events a year.
Yeah,
and I don't think he'll ever do that again.
No, and I mean, if I'm him, I'm playing literally 4 events. If I'm him, if you want to play the Players too, like maybe you do that.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't see any reason for him to play any of these other events. The FedEx Cup doesn't mean shit. No offense to anyone who thinks it does. It doesn't. I mean, it's a way to get money.
Yeah, you're not lining up your FedEx Cup versus Jack Nicklaus. That's a newer thing. You can't really do that.
And I'm not going to risk, if that's a concern of risking my career, playing more of these events, especially on a leg that's bionic, and like I'm sure the more wear and tear, aka walking you do on it, doesn't help. I don't see any reason for him to not play unless it's a major championship. And then there's probably certain major courses he can't play at too.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, I loved every minute of it. I'm a person that loves Tiger Woods. He's the reason I play this game. I did see people out there bitching about how much he was being shown, even though he was like 7, 8, 9 over. It's like, dude, like you have to remember, like I get people were calling him washed up. They're calling him but at the end of the day, what this guy did for golf, he's always going to get the ratings. Tiger could go shoot 90, and I'd rather watch him do that over Cam Young shoot 65.
Yeah,
not to sound like an asshole, but like that's just the nature of it.
And like, let's just say in the majors specifically, like majority, they get a bigger uptick of people who tune in, and it's the average viewer who doesn't maybe knows 15, 20 golfers.
Right.
You know who they fucking know? They know Tiger Woods.
Everybody.
And I don't care if he's 10 over. They want to go see him hit a few shots. So I'm with you. A lot of people had an issue with, on the first hole, like he didn't start off well because he was in a divot.
Right.
So I feel like we need to address the conversation of like, what is your opinion on like, should players get free drops out of divots?
No, I don't. I know a lot of amateurs and stuff complain about it, but like again, that comes to a skill level. Like in that situation, what Tiger should have done is clubbed up a little bit, and you're more or less just trying to hit a punch shot out of there. Which to me, he didn't really. I don't
know if he caught it fat or.
They did the slow-mo replay of it. It looked like he got ball first and then
just kind of was deflated coming out.
Yeah.
He could have gotten a gust of wind, and it just spins more sometimes. But
yeah, to me, that takes a special skill, and that's kind of part of the green. You can't really judge like divots are different, right? You have a little like burnt out piece of grass sometimes, or you have a big chunk. So it's not.
Well, that's the thing, and I get people are like, look, I'm in a massive beaver pellet, and like if you're going playing on a Saturday, Sunday for no money or whatever, like do whatever you find, whatever your buddies want to do.
Right.
Like I'm not criticizing that, but in a major championship or a PGA Tour event where it's competitive and you have to keep the rule or the integrity, like there's going to be times where guys are going to somehow argue that might be a divot or that might not, and I don't see any reason why it should ever be a free drop. It's a bad break. Deal with it, move on. Like it's going to happen. But yeah, I agree. There is an aspect to it is a shot you're trying to hit, and there's a skill behind it. Like I get people are like, well, you just hit a good shot in your fairway. You should be rewarded by keep getting in the fairway. It's like, yeah, I agree, but like it just opens up a can of worms if you do give free drops, because like you said, how do I interpret what's a divot and what's not?
Right.
So I don't know. I knew that was a debate between a lot of people who I think it was not a lot of pure golf fans, like the purists.
Yeah.
And so I felt like it was worth bringing up.
No, I mean, I've been in divots before, and I've had good shots out of them, and I've had bad shots out of them. To me, like sometimes an opportunity, you actually put a little bit more spin on the ball based on what type of divot you're. Again, to me, I look at part of the game. It sucks, but like that's part of the challenge. That's why we play, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fun when you hit a good shot. It's really exciting. But it's just like ball can plug in a bunker. You can get a bad lie because someone did a shitty job raking the bunker.
Right.
You get in a crap. Like shit just happens. And I get like, oh, I hit it in the fairway. It's like, shouldn't have hit it in that spot of the fairway. Yeah. I guess like I don't know. I mean,
like that's what a lot of people are like. Luck is involved with golf. I don't care what anybody says. Like you got to have some type of luck. So I'm not too upset from that standpoint. Obviously, the big moment that came out of this was his walk up 18 on Friday, and I'm not a crier. Like I've never cried at a movie. I've never cried at a TV show. Like I don't really get that emotional. I do consider myself a more emotional guy from that standpoint. It's really weird, but I've never like cried at anything. Watching him walk up 18 almost got me choked up a little bit. I will openly admit that I have no problem doing it. And then especially the visual that you got of, Rory walking down one and giving him the hat tip. It's just like the ultimate sign of respect. And, the pictures that came out of everyone stopping, all the players that were out there, Fitzpatrick and Max Homa watching him walk up the bridge, and imagine being in those guys' shoes. Like, it was a very, very, obviously I wish that moment would have come on Sunday, but what a spectacular moment for the game of golf on Friday.
Yeah, when I liked it, was funny. Fitz and Homa both kind of like let him go first, obviously, which you would. It's Tiger freaking Woods. But he didn't stop. Like, Tiger just went right through. Then, which I think was like, he was saying, like, he was very adamant at the beginning of the week, like, hey, this is, I think, the last time where I can be very competitive here. Or it might be the last time. I don't know.
Right.
But I think by him just kind of storming right through, he's like, no, this is not my farewell to St. Andrews. I'm not at least planning as if this might be.
Right.
I'm hoping to be back here playing again next time, assuming health is there. And I think that was the telling sign of, like, awesome. We needed to see that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely get that, whether that's, on a Friday or a Sunday next time. Granted, I mean, it's Tiger Woods. He's done crazier things in his lifetime, so I'm not ruling him out even maybe 6-7 years from now. People call me a homer or whatever it is from that standpoint, but there's going to be that moment where he stops on the bridge, and I believe that'll be the next time, and that's pretty much what I got out of it. It'll be its own, like, this was the 150th celebration. I think next time we're at St. Andrews will be a celebration of Tiger Woods and being a player that won it in back-to-back times at that place. So
yeah, I would agree.
He did come out and say after the round that, this is probably it for him for the year. He doesn't have any other plans to play golf the rest of the year.
PNC father-son is like the only thing I can expect.
Yeah, I expect that. And then maybe at his
Hero World Challenge. Yeah, those are the only two.
Yeah, and that's in December. So
yeah, and that's assuming he can ride in a golf cart for that Hero. Right. So
yeah, so I would not plan on seeing Tiger Woods before. I think the first real shot is maybe the Players next year. I think that's besides those two events we just talked about.
Maybe he does the Players as like a tune-up for the Masters. That could be it, but
and it gives him a month. That's kind of how I look at it. It gives him a month.
Some competitive golf. So I don't think we need to talk too much on Phil, other than he shot 5 over. He missed the cut. He actually was even after the first round and didn't play well on Friday, but missed cut, wore a T-shirt, kind of had some flack with some media people, but I don't know. I don't think there's a ton to talk about with him just because.
Do you feel bad for Phil at all or no? Because I know you're a guy that likes Phil.
Yeah,
I've had my stance on Phil.
Yeah, I've liked him for a while. Do I feel bad for him?
Like he got left out of like the champions.
Here's what I would say. I don't feel bad for him getting left out of the RNA stuff or any of those things, like how Greg Norman was too. I don't feel bad for those guys because you made decisions and they can do what they want based on the decisions you make. I think where I feel bad is kind of this like distinct media attack on him. Okay. And for it is he's got this like mob mentality after him from the media, it feels like. And so that's where I'm like, I just don't know if that's like, I don't see the why. I mean,
yeah, because
I guess like I don't see why the continuation of it. Like maybe initially, but like at some point, let's just give it a fucking rest.
Yeah, to me, like the golden child out of this whole thing has been Dustin Johnson, and they've talked about it as, Dustin's still liked by a lot of players.
No one's ripping on him at all.
Like, I haven't heard one. Like people have said bad things about Bryson. They've said bad things about Patrick Reed.
Phil, obviously.
Phil's kind of taking the brunt of it, and obviously for his comments, but DJ like doesn't face any of those questions, and I guess this should kind of be a little bit of a segue into our next thing about the Open. Before I think we have a few more things to talk about the Open, but a lot of the LIV players, one, they didn't get press conferences leading into it, which that didn't surprise me, but they didn't get a lot of coverage on NBC as well either, even on Peacock. They did a little bit more. I would say DJ got a bit more than probably anybody. He was in contention. But even Bryson, like in the past, someone brought up to me is like, well, even when Bryson wasn't in contention, like on some of these holes, you'd at least flash over to him and show his drive. So for the people that like don't understand, like one, they do understand it, but two, PGA Tour has a deal with NBC. Like that's who the deal's with.
Well, yeah.
And they're going to make sure they highlight their guys that are on tour. So
granted, this is a deal with the RNA when it's the major.
Right, but now the RNA is in partnership with the PGA Tour.
I mean, they basically came out and said, fuck to LIV guys.
Yeah, essentially. In a nutshell. I wasn't surprised by it. Would I have liked to see a little bit more of those guys? Yeah, Dustin, you didn't see Dustin until Sunday. They actually panned to him right as Rory was making the turn at 9. They panned to Dustin for a hot second, and then they went to commercial. Like they faded it out before, and that would have been the first time they showed DJ all day long.
Yeah, and
so
that was
you could tell it was openly being done by NBC. So,
they can do what they want. I mean, like we're not gonna sit here and say anything. I guess before getting into the LIV talk, the one thing I wanted, but continuation actually before we get in, you did talk about like DJ has not, and maybe it's because in previous press conferences, like he never really offered much. Like when he wasn't with LIV, like he for the most part,
wasn't an outspoken guy.
Yeah, and so I think like that could be why he's not getting attacked because he's not really saying a lot.
Just DJ.
Because that's just how he is.
Yeah.
But it is interesting how there is this distinct distaste towards some of these guys for that. But like DJ, we still like you. Or Taylor Gooch, we still kind of like you, except the fucking Ryder Cup comments, you dumbass.
Yeah,
but
he did retract those though.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. So some golf podcaster I am. I think the other thing we want to talk about was the golf course.
Yep.
Obviously, you posted the video of you and who's the other guy?
So
from
Neil
Woodward?
Rule from Woodward Sports here.
I think there's a few different things to talk about because I got a lot of questions from my golf fans, from my girlfriend, like, why is it so gross looking? Meaning like dead and stuff. And I'm like,
beautiful.
I'm like, oh, you don't get it.
Yeah.
But like, what do you want to talk about first? That or what you and Neil talked about?
I guess this is kind of why we're bringing it up. So I'll talk about like what went on here. So Neil, he's a golfer himself. Played most of his life, and he's not a fan of St. Andrews at all. He thinks the game has surpassed St. Andrews. He's ready for the Open to move on from it. He's done it over. He thought it was too easy for these guys. I rebutted to him. I was like, no, this has been an awesome tournament. Like the Open isn't the tournament that's advertised as a tough scoring tournament. And he was trying to say it was, and he goes, they're out there hitting 6 irons like 300 yards. He's like, that's not real golf. I was like, if I was out there, I could do that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to brag. Like that's not me.
Anyone can. It's firm.
Correct. I was like, that's not me trying to brag on myself by any means. Like I think at the end of the week, Tiger Woods hit the farthest drive out of anybody, 412 yards, and he's not the farthest driver of the ball on tour. You just got to get it in the right spots. And I think if you actually go and look at the statistics, a big course of where a lot of the guys that finished at the top of the leaderboard, it wasn't in stroke gain putting. A lot of it was from tee to green. And you have to be in the right spots out there at St. Andrews. And that's what, you see a lot of different shots. You saw Rory putt from 56 yards away. Like, that's not real golf. Like, actually, if you go back to the history of golf, this is how it all started. This is how, the fancy wedge shots, the flop shots, like, that didn't come on until later in the game. So this kind of gets you a little bit back to, the home or the original way of golf started. So I hated that argument. I thought it was the worst take I've ever heard because St. Andrews, at the end of the day, is a holy grail for the game of golf, and it always will be. I asked him this. I said, outside of the Masters, if you had to win a major, which one would you pick and at what location? I said St. Andrews. It'd be the Open at St. Andrews.
What'd he say?
He said the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach.
No, it's just okay. I don't need to belabor.
Okay.
To prove a few things that you said though. So Cam Smith won this year at 20 under.
Yep.
268 was his aggregate score. Obviously, Colin Morikawa when he won 265, it was 15 under. So the par was 70 for that course compared to 72. When Shane Lowry won at Royal Portrush, 269, 19 under.
Yep.
Francesco Molinari at Carnoustie, 276, that was 8 under, and the wind was up. I'm with you. The whole argument of like a major championship shouldn't be super low scoring or that like there's different types of low scoring. Yeah. This was a great one.
Correct.
And like, look, when you go to St. Andrews, you hope there's going to be wind because that's the defense. And I get his thought process. Like, man, they're just shooting low scores. This is bullshit, which I'm like, I agree with if you're just hitting a driver, it plugs in the ground because it's wet, and then they hit a wedge on the green and it's a putting contest.
Yeah.
But it's not that. I mean, there's a full gamut of strategy that goes into the ins and outs of it. Would I like it to be closer to level par? Yes, but like if they did get wind, they have to somewhat like keep the course in like somewhat condition to handle those things. And so like links golf never has, like, it's laughing that we're talking about, but like irrigation's not a big aspect of links golf.
That's what people don't
That's
realize.
how they were built before. They didn't have these things. So like normal links golf was played firm and fast conditions, running around like this. And to be perfectly honest, to negate a lot of the bigger, longer drivers of the golf ball is through firm and fast conditions. Yes, a guy might hit a 6-iron 300 yards. He probably carried it 220 maybe. Yep. And it hit a downslope and caromed. But like the whole aspect to like the distance being the issue because they're hitting it so far on these holes and it's so firm. It's like, no, like the Kies did a 6-iron because he's so afraid where else the driver can go. The distribution of where it can go, the dispersion of it is so much higher when it's firm and fast. And that's why this golf course, while I'm someone who I don't think it should go there every year, where we disagree on that, like it was a fun tournament to watch, and I loved it. And my one buddy texted me during the week and goes, how are these guys slow? And I'm like, I'm with you. But like, no, I'm kind of backtracking on it. Like, no, I have no problem with how low they go according to par.
Yeah,
it's
I've never understood that argument of like why people get so upset about like the scored at par. It makes no sense to me because you take me, Neil, you take anybody out there and you put them on that golf course and they're not breaking 80.
Well, it doesn't. But it doesn't matter whether we're breaking 80 or not. We're just like pars are relevant in the most part. They're playing for the lowest score. Like, okay, if we wanted to, let's make 9 a par 3 because everyone's driving it. Let's make the par 5s par 4s. Like, cool. Then everyone's gonna be happy because it's 8 under. It's like, well, no. Like, let's just like make it what it looked like and compare and be consistent. Like, look, if this course is going to be soaked and get wet, like, yes, the modern game will have passed it by. But I think the problem isn't with St. Andrews. The problem is with the modern game.
Correct.
And where the ball's going and how far it is. That's the bigger issue, which I think people might not understand because, like, that's where, like, we've gotten so far away from, like, when Jack played. And so, like, the ball being able to go as far as it does and as straight as it is creates a much better advantage for guys to shoot under par. But it still is a challenging test of golf.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it from the standpoint, too, is that you get to kind of compare where golf has come from, right? So you go back to the Opens, even in the early 1900s, these guys were shooting over par, like 7 over par, might have won it one year, or 6 over at St. Andrews. And now you've evolved in like right around 100 years now, that score has come all the way down to 20 under par. So it just shows you how far the game has come. And I think the argument that he was trying to make is like, that's an argument that's being already made by the USGA, the RNA. Is like the equipment. Is equipment too gassed up? Is the golf ball too juiced up? Like that's a totally separate argument that has nothing to do with St. Andrews.
Yeah, no, exactly. And and all it is I think it's an explanation, but like, I'm with you to say that St. Andrews, like then you just have to say the Open Championships as a whole. And for the most part, the last couple of years, weather's been pretty nice. Yeah. Every Open Championship, and like I hear other podcasts make it take like they need to have like a 3-week window for the Open, and then just choose when they have the shitty weather. Because really the last time the weather was bad was Carnoustie when Molinari beat, like Tiger was in the lead coming down the stretch, and 8 under 1. But like these guys are so good, and when there's not a lot of wind, it doesn't really matter what the golf course is. If you want to make it like a U.S. Open where the fairways are 10 yards wide and the rough is 6 feet long, that's fucking boring to watch because then you're just seeing guys chip out sideways and stuff. When the ball's running and getting on the ground, it's a lot more fun. And so, like, does that make it for maybe lower scores when the weather's down? Yeah, but, like, I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah, to me, it's like you have your characteristics of each major championship, right? I would say probably the PGA Championships, like, the oddball out, but, like, U.S. Open, it's built, like you said, deep rough, long rough.
Narrow fairways.
You got to hit it in the fairway, and extremely fast greens. Like that's what the Masters, whole separate thing. Yeah, green everywhere. Seems like there's fairway everywhere. Not really any rough. The Open, you're playing overseas, browned out fairways, looks gorgeous. I love it. I don't know. People are like, it's not green. That's because you've been Americanized.
Exactly. And so that's where, like, I think it's a great segue into what we were talking about. I've heard people on the radio. I had friends ask, like, it just looks bad. Like why don't they make it greener? And I'm like, it would change the whole complexion of what the golf course is about. And you're right, it 100% is Americanized. I was talking to AJ, our buddy, who plays down in a place in Ohio, and I was like, oh, like I played it earlier in the year when they were underwater, basically, and I was like, hey, has it gotten any firmer fast? He's like, no, they overwater this, like it's still plugging in the fairway. I'm like, that is American golf, like kind of Jack Nicklaus, and I'm not like saying this is Jack Nicklaus-esque, but American golf is we want things to look good, we want it to be lush and green, and it's like, I get it, there's an aspect of that, but I think where golf is a lot more fun is when it's firm fast. You almost see this like hazy yellow, and it's like crispy, and it makes it harder, and like, you know me, I'm a big fan of the classy hybrid, the 9-iron bump and runs. Like, that's when you can do a lot more of that, and it creates a lot more creativity compared to just flying a ball that's going to sit next to the hole. Yeah, and that's what I said, too. Like, link-style golf takes a different type of skill than anything else. And that's why I think it makes the Open so great. Yeah. I mean, Cam Smith's putt from 17, up the hill,
like could have rolled into the bunker. I would have putted that into the bunker, like no questions asked.
And 95% of amateurs would have hit a wedge there.
Correct.
Because it's like why? Like, unless they had a caddy from like what's, but like that's the smart play, which they should do that normally if it's wet. Like the putter is the best club to use as an amateur.
Because it's that saying goes is a bad putt is better than a bad chip.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I've always said a bad putt off the green is usually like a mediocre to good chip.
Yeah.
And like it's just either way, but. The yellowness I like, and I get it's like one of those things that people are going to argue, but if it was green and everything like that, it'd be 35 under.
Yeah, because I think as like, play like anyone that sees like kind of browned out or a little bit yellow grass that people are, oh, it's dying, it's dead. Like it's no, not really. It's just like that gets me fired up because I was like, ooh, the ball's going to actually roll for once.
Yeah, that's the way golf is meant to be played.
Yeah, I mean, that's how golf essentially got started over in Scotland. So like a quick history lesson that's going to take a second is the reason the grass is always so short is the salt water from the air. Like it doesn't allow the grass to get super long. And that's kind of like they've kept that tradition for forever. So you're not going to get fertilizers out there. You're not going to get, it's way more natural. The war paint out there that actually greens it up. You're not going to get that shit. It's that's what makes link style golf and golf over in that part of the world so cool.
Exactly. No, 100% agree. So I don't know. We went on a tangent, but I just felt like it was needed to be discussed because, like, I heard one person on the radio say, like, it doesn't look like a major championship because it's yellow. I'm like, that's the dumbest fucking take I've ever heard.
That's what people think, like, golfers are snobby. It's like, no, American people in general are snobby.
Yeah, and just, like, because of the color, that doesn't make a major. Like,
you know what I do regret, though? Is I regret not, like, 2 years ago setting myself up to, like, go over there.
You still can.
And like, no, just go over there like for this Open.
Oh, yeah.
I think the next time St. Andrews is the host, I'm definitely going to make it a point because, you can go out in the town after and like you got players walking through the streets.
Yeah. Well, my parents got like they were there for the practice rounds. They like I think my dad said after the round Thursday, nice round, Rory. He like walked by him. Yeah. And they had Justin. Like you see these guys, they're in the town for the most part. So
and I just want to drink a bunch of like Guinness over there and just hang out. I think over there it's light out until like 11 o'clock at night their time too. So I was like, I would be partying my ass off for just 4 days straight.
So I think that what we need. So as we mentioned, I won the bet. So the DraftKings thing. So I'm now 2-0.
That sucks.
Tough break there for you. We'll figure out if you want to caddy for me and wear the outfit during the caddying, or if you want to wear the outfit plain and then just caddy for me another time. But we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we got some time left here this summer.
Obviously, my favorite one, Cam Smith. My sleeper, Mark Leishman, miscut. Your favorite, third place, your sleeper, Kurt Kitayama, T72, made the cut.
Not bad. Tell you, all my picks always make the cut.
Both our Mortal Lock top 20s missed. I think you took Seabez on top 30. T68. I had Fitzpatrick just implode on fucking Sunday. He finished T21 like sick. I had him top 20.
Kill myself.
Miscut. Louis Oosthuizen MC'd.
Yeah.
I and then like I couldn't believe.
I mean that felt like a no-brainer.
But like and then I said winner to par 72nd hole. That was a loss.
Yeah, big loss.
In hindsight, when I was like watching, I was like, this is a terrible bet.
When you said it on the show, I was like,
I didn't think 18 played like under 3.5. I think that was like there was a lot of par 3.
It was the easiest hole in major championship history.
Yeah. So, whoops.
But that's why. That's why I said that's why
we just made it a par 3.
But like that's why I said on the show it should be like plus odds. Like I think at the time it was like minus 130.
Yeah, it was minus 135.
Yeah, par. you got fucked.
It was a stupid bet. Yeah. I mean, I didn't actually bet it, thank God. But
yeah.
But either way, okay. So like LIV Golf. I think it's time to segue. So there's been a few rumors. There is one confirmed. So I think we talked about the confirmed David Feherty.
Correct.
Which is a pretty big deal. Like that's a big get.
This is where I think the whole LIV situation gets even more enticing for everybody and for golfers, for consumers. Is part of the reason why I didn't like the first two broadcasts right away is they're not the same familiar voices that you've heard time and time again.
Yeah.
But you get David Feherty over there. Count me in. I like David Feherty a lot. I've been a big fan of him. I know people either like him or they don't. Yeah. I love David. I can listen to him talk golf all day.
And it'll be more entertaining. And I'm hoping he has a little more freedom to say what he wants. Like we've grown up in all, not just golf, but all sports. Like broadcasters don't say swear. They don't swear. They don't. Other than the color commentator, they typically don't say it how it is. They just are buddy with everyone.
Right.
I really hope he is more like he was on his show with NBC than maybe just like a normal PGA Tour broadcast. So we'll see. I really hope he can be very creative for it. Big get though for LIV. Look, I'm done kind of talking. I think we're done, you and I, belaboring the fact of like the whole blood money thing and the Saudi, because I think like we're just harping on something that for the most part is we don't need to keep talking about that.
Correct. And to your point, and this is where I want to give you the most credit in the entire world right now. And I've been thinking about this for 2 days and I want to save it, for the show. Is I believe the first or second episode that we recorded, you came out and said, you're like, I don't think the rest of the world looks at LIV Golf the way the Americans are and the way it's being pushed on, the American society and stuff like that.
Because of our relationship with Saudis.
Correct. And obviously you go back to the 9/11 thing and the political stuff behind that. But like somebody that is from Australia, somebody that's from Europe, like they're not going to look at it from that standpoint. They're not going to sit there and say like, oh, well, they did 9/11 to another country. Because if we were in that position, if we were looking at something that happened in Australia like that, like there could have been something that happened. Now, I'm ignorant to the fact. I don't even know if something major has happened like that over there.
So we're going to have our own nationalistic point of views on the thing.
Right.
But yeah, I just think like harping on the blood, like the whole, I'm over talking about that. We can talk about the separation, how that's going to impact the world of golf and all that stuff moving forward. But I think David Feherty for them as a whole, don't know what his role is. Is he going to be an on-course reporter? Is he going to be color commentator? Like, big get. I don't know.
Huge get.
I haven't seen what
I haven't seen any dollar
was.
amount yet. But if I was a betting person, I would. The way they throw money, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 10, 15, $20 million deal.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean,
at least. I mean, you look at what some of these guys in like football are getting over here. Tony Romo got a $17 million a year deal. Like Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. So people are starting to realize like analysts are part of like why we consume sports.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's where. So like, I'm sure. It'll be an interesting product. I hope he has some saying like, hey, let's try to do this. Let's try to do that. Just from like how they're going to, show it for us and stuff. So we'll see. That'll be interesting.
I would imagine they're going to kind of go back to him of like what they could do better and what they should do different. And now I think an interesting factor in all of this too is Charles Barkley has been very vocal about.
Yeah, he said they approached him
and he's in talk. It sounds like he's in talks to be some type of analyst or color commentator with him. And if you get a guy like, I've always said the TNT NBA on TNT
phenomenal
is the best. You don't even have to watch basketball. There would be some days I would just go tune into the halftime show just because of how entertaining Shaq, Kenny, and Ernie Johnson were. So if you get Charles Barkley involved with David Feherty, like we've said it here before, I think the PGA Tour is in big trouble.
Yeah, no, for sure. And so I think talking about some of the players who have now been reported, I mean, I haven't like actually seen a confirmation for this yet, but late after that day, it's been rumored for a while now. But it basically was tweeted like expected to join LIV now is Henrik Stenson,
correct?
Who is I think the 2016 Open champion, the current Ryder Cup captain for this next Ryder Cup next year. So obviously he'll lose that. But that one sounds like it's imminent. We haven't officially seen it, but basically everywhere says like it's going to be that. And then there was a report that came out that said Leishman, Adam Scott, and Cam Smith are poised to join LIV Golf. And I've read that Cam Smith at one point had 90 million. Then I also saw 110 million. If I was him and I was maybe going to do it, I would ask for more money after winning because he's going to be their poster child for the most part.
Yeah.
Now I also heard today that they're probably waiting until after the President's Cup to do that. So a few moving parts there. Hideki Matsuyama was another player who's rumored. I heard $350 million, which is like wild. But obviously
you take an entire
about the world market.
Yeah,
so,
you take an entire market away from the PGA Tour.
So and look, what are they doing? They're going and getting a lot of these international players. So it belabors the fact of like, yes, we're gonna have our own perception of it, but internationally, I think there's a different perception. And is it going to be something to tune into right away? Is team golf going to be something exciting? I think so. I just think they're still figuring out those kinks, and it'll take a little bit. But I know you've wanted to talk about. You said the PGA Tour's got some issues, and there's some concerns. So, like, obviously, floor is yours to kind of explain.
I mean, it's kind of been the argument that people have talked about. Like, the casual fan only cares about the 4 events of the year, maybe 5 if you call it, with the Players, the Masters, and all the majors, right? And then you get your Ryder Cup that people love. I wouldn't even say people love the President's Cup as much. But you get those events, and that's essentially all the people sit there and care about, right? So, I actually sat down with my buddy last night, who's not a big golfer or anything like that. He watches the majors, and that's about it. And he's all about LIV Golf. I've talked to a lot of people that are just kind of casual golf fans, and they're all about the LIV Golf. They think it's unique. They like the team aspect from it. And I think essentially we've talked about Americanizing some things around here, and people may call this a dumb idea, but I think this is gonna have to be the route of the PGA Tour. I think essentially you start having owners to teams. Like, you bring in guys that, like, you have a Detroit team or whatever you want to call it. Like, this is just kind of my thoughts early on, is you come in, you have owners to teams, and the owners report back to the PGA Tour, and then the owners decide what they want to pay their players. Like, you have a big ass draft, and obviously this is all speculation. This is craziness, but this is the only way I think the PGA Tour can compete with the salaries that these guys are going to get paid from LIV Golf. You look at, like, I look at the MLB, for example. You look at NBA. These owners are paying players $250 million over the course of a 6 or 7 year deal. And that's essentially what the motto is over at LIV Golf. And I think in order to get guaranteed money is, I think anybody, you would take guaranteed money. I would take guaranteed money. I went and looked at the earnings list for this year for the PGA Tour. And
I did this, yeah.
And we looked at, I believe the top earner on tour is Cam Smith.
It was Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler, yep. And then Cam Smith is right behind him in second.
And not by a lot, or it was by a lot, I mean, excuse me.
Yeah, because
that was before the Open. Correct. So it changed.
So Scheffler, I believe, to year to date is right around the 13 million to 15 million.
13.
Yeah. This was before they opened too.
Yeah, so the Open dollars.
So let's say Scotty Scheffler goes on to win. He's won at 4 events this year too. So let's say he goes on and wins the FedEx Cup. That's another 18 million on top of that. Plus he's probably won a few. So he's probably would bring home close to right around $32 to $35 million for the year. Bryson DeChambeau just signed $150 million with LIV Golf.
Something like, or it's 100 or something.
And that's probably a couple year deal. My guess is a 3-4 year deal. So let's say you call it a 4-year deal. He's making what? I'm not the best math guy in the world, but 150 divided by 4, that's,
I mean, it's just
$37.5 million a year.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's plus you get to go make, if let's say you're Scotty Scheffler, you win 4 events on the year, because eventually they're going to get to 24 events. That's another $20 million in your pocket.
No, at least. I mean, you win 4. Yeah, I mean, it's the money in golf. There's a lot just in general, and now, like, obviously they can't compete with these different types.
And Jay Monahan has said that. He's like, we cannot compete with the monetary money that is being thrown around to these guys.
But now, like, you talked about Scotty Scheffler, who's first on the money list, who's having the best year, and he like, I say only in a sense of like what other guys are making. He's only making 13 million this year. I go to 10th on the list. It's Hideki Matsuyama. He's played in 18 events. He's earned $5.7 million. The rumor was $350 million. Now, like, that's not a good example because of like where his situation is and everything like that. But like, let's just think of the 10th guy and maybe getting a deal within the US, like $5 million or $6 million. Well, it's a lot, man. Getting guaranteed $25 million or something, or even $15 million a year, like, that's more. Plus, on top, you have these events. You're right. So, like, I do like this idea. Now, it is the whole Americanization of, like, let's bring in sports owners, like whether it's like Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods or stuff like that. They'd have to figure out that selection process. I think the challenge I'd have with it is, how are you going to somehow parlay that? Like, are you going to build it into the PGA Tour schedule and you're going to have teams on top similar to what they're doing? Or do you have, like, just a team series in the fall for, like, you know, you have your fall series for guys who aren't in it, but then, like, and that's, like, look, we're speculating a ton. Like, we could go on a full hour-long rant about this. But I do think, like, there's something they need to be done. And, like, they had that announcement. They had the things that they're talking about, trying to get more younger players involved at some point and figuring out those avenues because they're going to keep losing. But, like, it still is not going to be enough. And these guys are going, and they're gonna. And, like, everyone talks about, well, it's a bunch of has-beens. Like, is it? Like, I mean, DJ T6, DeChambeau T8, Adam Scott, who's rumored top 20, Cam Smith just won the Open. Like, it was maybe at first, but, like, the more they get, the less it is just has-beens.
Yeah. and it becomes a real tour from that standpoint. And I mean, the PGA Tour can only lose so many guys before the majors start. The majors lose their mystique of it, because I couldn't imagine that you have a major championship without a Cam Smith, without a Dustin Johnson, without a Bryson DeChambeau, like guys that have made the tour what it is the last 5 to 10 years now. Like it's hard to fathom it from that standpoint. So like that's why I was like, okay, what can the PGA Tour? It's an American entity. All right, you get sports teams, you get owners that can come in and pay these players. Like that's like PGA Tour announced they can't do it. They can't do it as a sole entity. So what do you do? Like how do you supplement it? But we did some research on like Jay Monahan and what he was getting. I think like technically his base salary is like $800,000 for the year, but I'm pretty sure on his tax return last year he netted like $14 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just,
and that's guaranteed money for a commissioner.
Yeah. I don't look, has he responded to everything in the best way? No. But has it been terrible? No. I think it's a really difficult situation. And I think in his mind, he's probably leaning a lot more on the majors and hoping that they're going to respond, which will probably get something in the next couple, first major to actually come out and say anything was the RNA basically. Right. And everyone made a big deal, like Mike Wan's response for the USGA when he was just like, no, we'll look at it. It's like, yeah, he's just going to look at it. Like he gave it an open-ended answer so he can decide what he wants to do.
Right.
But like the concern, if you're the majors is like, hey, like we're going to go off this world ranking system. Well, if 25 of the top 50 guys are on LIV, like, are you going to keep them out of these majors?
Right. Yeah.
And to some degree, like I get they're going to lose points, but like we still got a little bit of a year, and now you have the Open champion, like and what could be the Players champion, like leaving, like it's an interesting and we don't know. I mean, like we just keep saying we don't know. We're just talking about it. We're giving our thoughts, and but
it's so new to all of us.
Yeah,
right? It's new, and this is kind of what you do is like, what can the PGA Tour, and like at this day and age, like right now, I don't think there's much they can do if they go with what they're doing currently.
And like hindsight's 2020, but like the PGL, which was different than the SGL or the LIV, which they basically stole the PGL's idea, approached the PGA Tour before the pandemic about this. Rory said, this seems interesting. One, it was get him more money in his pocket. It gets more money in a lot of the players' pockets. And Jay Monahan said, no, I'm not even going to entertain this. I don't even want to meet with them. There's no point.
Yeah, because they didn't think they'd start getting a lot of these players to jump ship.
And so, like, now you're looking at, like, fuck. Because now if you're trying to go back on it, but, like, I think you need Jay out. You need to figure out a new strategy. But I don't know. I'm curious how what the majors are going to say, and we have a while to it. We have 9 months basically until the Masters and stuff. But that's when the next dominoes are really going to start to fall. But like, I guess if I'm going back on like how Greg Norman's done, and if I'm like evaluating how he's approached this, or not how he's approached it, but more so if I'm evaluating his success, like I'm looking at it like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And like people can be like, what are you talking about? The product sucks. It's like they've had 2 tournaments. They stood up in the matter of like days.
Yeah.
They've gotten a number of the good players, and it's like, hey, the more players I get, the more dollars I'll be able to invest in the product.
Well,
and so
and I think a lot of it we talked to is from a consumer standpoint. That's why I like bring it. That's why I believe like the David Feherty thing was huge for them. Like he's been with the CBS, he's been with CBS, he's been with NBC, he's had his own show on the Golf Channel. Like this is a guy that's been around in the industry that can provide these guys with a lot of insight of what they need to do to make better. But I look at too, like all those Australian players that you just talked about, Leishman, Adam Scott, Cam Smith. Like you don't think growing up that all 3 of those guys looked up to Greg Norman? I mean, Greg Norman's Australian. For people that don't know, he was probably an idol to them growing up. It's like, okay, like that's the guy I look up to as much as like we've looked up to Tiger Woods. So for who, could you imagine
Australian golfers, Greg Norman was Tiger Woods.
Yeah. Could you imagine if like Tiger Woods started a golf league or something outside of the PGA Tour? I'm not saying obviously he'd do that, but how many guys would jump ship just because they love Tiger Woods?
Yeah. And that's where I think I really want to ask people when evaluating LIV, and maybe it's not fair for me to ask them, but I think if you're going to give a thought on like, do I like what they're doing? You have to somehow remove the aspect of where the money's coming from. Like obviously that's always going to be the case of where it is and what they're trying to do. But from a standpoint of if we're looking at it just strictly as a golf product and how it is comparing to where maybe what the PGA Tour is and how they're maybe changing the way PGA Tour is going to look at things, like it's creating those changes. And I think that's where there is an aspect of it. I don't think anyone likes. We don't like talking about LIV. Like it's old because you have this like geopolitical question that overhangs everything of morality. But we're doing, I think, our job, or what we're trying to do at best is eliminate that aspect of it, because we're just evaluating it from a golf standpoint and how it's going to impact the world of golf. The concern, the fractured golf world. But I think there could be benefits to it, depending on what the PGA Tour does. Do the majors still let these guys? Because it was fun having all of these guys at this tournament this week, because we haven't had that for 3 months, and now we're going to go 9 months without it, where there's going to be 2 different leagues. And if they all can come back to the Masters, like, it's going to be fun again to get, like, Brooks involved and, like, these guys. So we'll see where it goes. But, like, again, I want people to understand that, like, from a standpoint, we're trying to take out that aspect of it when we discuss it and when we evaluate it.
Yeah, because we're at the end of the day, we're golf heads. Like
we're not politicians.
Yeah, exactly. We're not politicians at all.
We'll use everyone's quote.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, that's what I think part of the fun is, speculating, like, what's the PGA Tour going to do now? What's LIV Golf going to do? Like, that's, I think, what's made this podcast.
The hockey net.
I think that's what's made this podcast very enjoyable, is trying to figure out. And it's fun, think of your own ideas of what you think from, like, your own consumer standpoint of what you think might work. And to me, I think you have to steal the idea of what LIV Golf is doing with the teams and whatnot. And do you get owners in? Some of the ideas out there is that, like, Shrixon could come in and be in a quote unquote team in LIV Golf.
Yeah, that's what we heard on the other podcast.
Yeah, so like I'm saying, you're watching golf form into something.
Fractured world.
Yeah.
It's Monday Night War, WWE versus WCW, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So it's fun. We're gonna continue to speculate whether people like it or not. Like, I'm gonna always put my ideas, what I think could be better or what I like or dislike. But it just adds that much more entertainment value around the PGA Tour and around just the game and golf in general. Whether people want to say it's a bad light or a good light. I've talked more about LIV Golf with people
in the last couple months.
And I've talked about people with golf ever.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. So, well, I think, kind of getting to a point where we got the 3M Open this week.
Yep.
I think the next LIV event is actually the week of the Rocket Mortgage Classic, which is the following one, the home tournament here.
Which I guess we maybe touch on for a second. So Rocket Mortgage Classic, obviously
we got to make our picks for 3M as well.
Yeah, yep. So obviously it's here in Detroit, at Detroit Golf Club. What's the 3rd year of being back here?
Yeah. Nate Lashley and then Cam Davis.
Yep. So Cam Davis actually had a decent week at the Barracuda. But Sam and I, it sounds like there's a good chance him and I will be out there.
Yeah.
So sounds like we may get credentialed. So we're not trying to, knock on wood. We're not trying to spoil that for ourselves, but we'll get credentialed, and hopefully, we might be out there in the media tent or in between the ropes, and hopefully we could start maybe building some relationships with some of the players and the people of the Rocket Mortgage Classic, and hopefully could do some cool things here in the future. So I'm excited about that. I never thought in a million years of, we're in episode 8 of this podcast. I never thought we'd have this opportunity. So shout out to the Rocket Mortgage Classic and the Country Club of Detroit and all the fine people that put that on. So I'm looking forward to that next week. I'll for sure be down there, obviously.
We'll be there. It's just a matter of what day, and we'll figure that stuff out.
Yeah. So
the other thing, Ches won in Tahoe, the Barracuda, Ches Reavie, third PGA Tour win. Who cares?
I mean,
you watched a lot.
I watched.
I didn't watch any of it.
So it's weird. Like, I think part of it too, like, now that we're doing this podcast, is I'm watching, like, more and more golf than, like, I probably ever have. But it was kind of nice. Like, I didn't really do, like, Saturday I had that event I had to go to, but Saturday evening and Sunday, I didn't really have any plans. So the golf finished up early both days, for the Open at like 2-3 o'clock. And then, they take an hour or two of live from the Open. I watched that, and then they go right into the Barracuda Championship at 6 o'clock. And it's a little bit of a different event. You do Stableford points, like we talked about a couple weeks ago with the American Century Championship with all the celebrities. I mean, it's done at the same golf course. But I think it's unique, and I look at it from the standpoint of people's like, oh, how could you watch that? It's so boring. You get guys out there that, are struggling, have either struggled or they just got their name onto the tour looking for their first career win. Ches Reavie becomes the first 40-year-old winner on the PGA Tour this year. And Ches is, again, that's another guy that has the Arizona Diamondbacks logo on his hat. So big week for baseball guys in the golf world.
And let me also say, he's not a Matt Every. He's not an Omar Uresti. He's at least someone who's competitive, making cuts consistently. So
here's a question.
Just before all those guys start ripping on me.
So that was fun to watch. Tahoe's a badass golf course.
That was different than Edgewood, though, that they played the American Century at.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
I thought it was the same golf course. So there's my dumbass coming right back into frame there. Here's a question, since we were talking about, who do you think's dead? One, how many people do you think have been paid by the PGA Tour for earnings this year, and who do you think is dead last on that list?
I mean, I'm guessing it's Matt Every.
Matt Every is dead last on that list at 245.
Yeah, and he's playing this week in the fucking 3M Open. And, like, I'll go, if you want, I go down the list of guys who shouldn't be in this week, and other people should, but I don't want to.
What do you think his career earnings on the year are so
on
far?
the year?
Yeah.
Like 33,000.
That is very generous. $7,000.
Jesus. How do you wear? Like, I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
if you make a cut, you're making at least $50,000.
Yeah, I don't think.
No, it might not be that. Well, he could have played.
I don't think he's made a cut.
Maybe he played in like a no-cut event and got last place.
Yeah. I
I
don't know.
That's rough.
I'll have to double check what the event was, but yeah, seven G's for Matt Every. Which, shout out to the Big Break. I missed that show. It was a fun show to watch on the
Was
golf
he a
team.
Big Break guy?
He was.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I know
Break.
Pat Perez's brother was, and Tony Finau was on it. But
Oh, I didn't know it was Tony Finau was.
Tony Finau was on it. He came in like third place. Him and his brother were on it.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Richie Wierenski, who's also on the PGA
Yeah.
Tour, was on it too.
2 Gloves, Gainey. Who,
Yeah.
Again, the other guy's probably.
They
been
need to
around
bring
too
that show. I love that show.
I agree.
I don't know why they ever stopped. Blair O'Neill was on it. Like
The kind of aspect of like a guy getting a PGA Tour start out of like winning some like exhibition flop shot.
it was badass.
You know
man.
what? You know what? Liv could adopt it.
Oh,
For their play. Bad idea.
that's how you get on the Live Golf Tour now, is the Big Break Challenge.
Oh, maybe
See, now we're starting something.
Yeah,
I'm
there
telling
you
you,
go.
Liv needs to hire us to
they should.
throw us
Or
20 million.
promotion.
We'll come up with a bunch of great
No, because
ideas.
we wouldn't settle. No.
Yeah.
All right, who do you got to win? Do you want me to go first on the 3M?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, so I've taken this guy I think 2 times in these like kind of off weeks where it's not a great field. The number one, the favorite this week, Sung J M. Then you have Hideki Matsuyama and Tony Finau. Those are kind of like the top 3. I'm gonna go ahead and take at plus 4,500. There's 2 guys. I'm just gonna mention both their names, but I'm gonna lay my stake in the ground on Nick Hardy.
Oh, okay.
I've been talking about this guy all week. He's
Yeah,
going
you
to win
have.
one of these times, or all year. He's going to win one of these ones. The other guy I was looking at was also at plus 4,500, Chris Gotterup. He's playing for basically trying to earn enough points to get status.
Oh yeah, convinced the John Deere Classic.
Yeah, he
to
had a
let him
top
play.
5 of the John Deere. So those both guys at 4,500, I like a good value. I don't like the favorites this week. Finau, M coming off of this. I just like, if you're looking at a bet to make, I don't think you're going to get tremendous value out of betting the favorite because there's such a chance of them flaming out like Adam had when missing the cut at the John Deere. Like, I just like, it's not a heavy favorite guy. So,
All right, I like that. All right, so my pick this week, I'm going on. I've mentioned his name before. I'm going with Maverick McNealy to
like
get
it.
his first career win. Played decent last week at the Barracuda. You're starting to see his name a little bit more on the leaderboard. So again, not a strong field for him this week. So I think he's like plus 2,000 to win. He's actually kind of one of the favorites going into
4th
this.
best strokes gained odds going, or strokes gained.
Yeah,
going into the
so
week.
I'm riding with Maverick McNealy, a young guy that, he was kind of like a phenom a couple years ago. And, he actually weighed the options of grinding through like Corn Ferry. I think he might have been top 5 in the PGA University a couple years ago, but he was actually thinking about going to school to be a doctor. If I remember that story correct.
Did he? I think he turned pro before PGA Tour U.
He could have. I could have been making that up, but he talked about grinding that life for a couple years versus going to be a doctor, and he stuck with golf. Another story of a guy that's in the field is Julion Kim got exemption through the end of this season.
Oh, he did?
I just saw, yeah.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to mention then 3 other names, because I was surprised you didn't mention Sahith, who fucks. He's playing this week.
I love Sahith.
Davis Riley, who we've talked about. He's
Yep.
playing. He's first time playing, I think, since the U.S. Open. He played like 6 straight events, so could use a little time off. But then you mentioned Julion Kim. That was the other guy I was going to say, like, look out for this name. I mean, he kind of jumped out early in the Open. He was, if you were watching on Thursday, Friday, he was kind of up there and faltered. I think it was early Thursday. He was 5 under and had a few bogeys. But just he's a good player from Korea, 20 years old.
Yeah, it was like a special exemption, like to unlimited sponsors exemptions, like through the end of the year.
Okay.
For his finishes in like the Scottish Open and I believe something else too.
Big Dick Rick playing.
Rick is playing plus 4,800 odds.
And then just look out, Dylan Fratelli. He
only peeps his head around like majors.
It is weird. Like I think he got like a top 30, but maybe Dylan Fratelli, he's plus 6,500. I would maybe throw a top 20 bet on him.
He's like the Brooks Koepka of like not winning majors, but just like
top 25,
top 20s in majors.
If I were to make a top 20 bet, I would say Dylan Fratelli this week. I'm just saying.
I like that. Who I wish was good again that I actually do miss.
Ricky.
Playing this. No, well, I'm Ricky, but Jason Day.
Yeah.
I loved watching Jason Day play golf in 2016. And I think his is more like back and like he's kind of like, to me, he reminds me of David Duval almost. Got to number 1 in the world, got his major,
flamed out.
Ended up with back problems, and then essentially just never was heard from again.
He was a really good putter too, and Jason Day is, and like he still is, but it's not at the clip. Like it was like every 7-footer is going in the hole.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I don't know if we'll ever see that Jason Day again. It's crazy to think about that.
But do we want to wrap on our birdie bogeys of the week?
Yeah. I'm. If you got your birdie and bogey, you would kick this thing off first.
I did. I've lost train of thought of what it was. I mean, I would say, the bogey of the week is no more majors. Like,
okay, that's
I mean, I could say the birdie of the week was a great Open Championship, but I think the birdie of the week for me is picking Cam Smith to win the Open Championship, which was a great Open Championship.
Yep.
I actually made the bet, $25 bet, won $800.
$800. I know.
Nice.
I was jealous because I had $10 on Rory to win. I would have won like.
I ended up hedging on Rory on Saturday. There was like some boosts on DraftKings, and I hedged on him like 25 to win 100 when he was plus 400 or something, just to cover my grounds in case. Yeah. The one guy I didn't have anything on was Cam Young.
I don't think anybody had anything on Cam Young.
But like I even hedged Victor Hovland to start on Sunday. But I didn't do anything on Cam Young, and I was like, oh shit. If this guy wins and I like don't win any, that would suck.
Give you a little
but my birdie of the week, picking Cam Smith to winning and watching like an awesome Open Championship, coffee golf. Bogey of the week, we have 9 months until our next like legitimate golf tournament. I mean, there's a lot of ones that it's just like where you feel something with this great field. So,
all right, I like that. All right, my birdie of the week, I would sit here and say is having no responsibilities on Sunday of a major. Again, I'm still getting used to this. I'm not used to just sitting around all day watching TV on a Sunday, especially during the middle of July. Having coming from the golf business, but I literally got up at 7 o'clock on Sunday, laid in my bed until about 11:30, then got up when these guys were making the turn to the back nine, had like a brunch type meal, and then sat on my couch until like 8 o'clock just watching golf. Yeah. Like it was phenomenal. Yeah. No, I was like, damn, I really enjoy this.
There's nothing better.
And then my bogey of the week is last Saturday, I played in a golf outing and got pretty drunk. Shout out to Gypsy Vodka and their mulligans. I had several of those. I was drinking them responsibly.
Of course.
But tequila might have reared its ugly head a few times throughout the outing. And one of the girls I work with, she was playing in the outing as well and shooting the shit after, and I volunteered myself to watch her dog all week.
Oh, so you got stuck with the dog.
So I was stuck with a mini Yorkie all week, and the dog was awesome. Coda was a great dog.
Shout out to Coda.
Had to be around like one of those dogs that kind of got to be touching you at all times and stuff like that, but not like real annoying. Chased her around the condo when she wanted to play and stuff like that. But I'm a type of person that's very independent. I don't like having to like come home to responsibilities or anything like that. That's my birdie of the week. You just heard, having no responsibilities. So I had to take care of a dog all week. In my drunk state, I don't think I would have necessarily done that when I was sober. So I guess the bogey of the week is drunk promises.
Which is a good one.
But it makes for a great story.
Yeah, either way. Well, that was a long episode.
Yeah.
A lot to talk about.
Lots to talk about. But again, we appreciate everyone tuning in. Episode 8. We're pretty much 2 months in. I'm having a lot of fun doing this.
Definitely.
Hope you are too. Make sure if you're listening on YouTube, follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And I think we're going to get a TikTok going here too. So
want to see my dances.
Yeah, there you go. Follow us on there, and we'll post a lot of the content, like shorter clips and stuff from the show. Obviously, if you watch the entire show, you don't have to do that, but we're going to have fun with that. Be careful out there. If you're playing golf in Michigan, at least this week, it's going to be hot all week long.
I know.
Drink those fluids, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But enjoy the rest of your week. If you're playing golf, hit them far, hit them straight.